everybody. Welcome, welcome. I know that I have been saying I was going to do an SEL intensive how-to and what is for a while now. And unfortunately, the life of a researcher in education, it has taken me far beyond the comprehension of what Virginia's capacity for understanding is. So today I'm going to try to rewind in my mind to the beginning. First, some housekeeping, because I don't ever do that. If you're on Facebook and you want to comment, up at the top in the link somewhere, you have to give permission to show your name. If you don't want to go up and do that, just if you make a comment, just say, hey, it's so-and-so. Okay? Second is we have a YouTube channel. I put the link on my page and a couple places because eventually Facebook may, and we're putting everything over on Rumble too, which will be up soon. And keep in mind always that we are funded for the children, for the people, by the people. We don't take money. Big money comes with big prices, and it costs your soul, is our opinion. Same with politicians. So first, we're going to clarify a lot of things today, and I'm going to show you the receipts, and then I encourage you to then go to whether you have a previously seated politician running, because all of this stuff was brought in under their watch, to carry this message to them and explain why they have to watch this, because they're going to determine, especially with this Senate and this House, how we're going to finish out this generation of children. And, I'm not going to get deep into Marxism, communism, socialism, but what we are in the midst of is a cultural revolution, and it's being done through social emotional learning. It is transformation, nothing about that is positive, and in the midst of a constitutional war, because there is law prohibiting this in the state of Virginia, requiring notification, and federal law. And so when we don't have governmental, so people want to blame the left for the ideologies. So I said, call it what it is, communism. Well, it's socialism and Marxism. So you got Nazism, socialism, fascism, communism. We are approaching communism. But it's what the number one thing they all have in common, which is important to understand too, is collectivism. The collective, and that's what you're going to see here, is the words that you need to question. And that's everything. I've done shows on Do You Speak Education, but is understanding the meaning behind the words when you read them, and then asking your division why you don't know this is going on. Because I don't care what division you live in what state, you have it. I was just in Louisa. The smaller divisions are the ones burying it the deepest. The divisions like Loudon, there's places all over the state. I learned all. Go to a different division's page. Some of them have a link right here. Boop, opt out for second step. Ask your division, why don't we have this? Because it's all based on state and federal law. But when you have dumpster fire counties, they got other stuff to deal with. So they can bury it, they can hide it. You can have superintendents that say, we don't do that, we do character education. Well, that's really great because it's the same thing. Just a couple things to think about. And I've done shows on here. If you don't have our YouTube channel, it's easy to find. Just type in Virginians for Children First if you're not on YouTube right now. We also have a great section where I've saved under must-watch playlist. It's a lot of videos, but if you wanted to go through and figure out, I save them as I watch them to understand what I'm talking about. So I'm going to start out something with a video of something very positive, and keep in mind that this is what they are seeking to destroy. This is a video it's 154 nations. It was recorded weeks before COVID. I'm not going to play the whole thing because it's really long, but the world's blessing in 257 languages. right before COVID started. And so this is what they're seeking to destroy across the nation, because there's nothing being taught in our school. Social emotional learning is coming from the global level. It's coming from the World Economic Forum. It's coming from the United Nations, UNESCO. It did not come, it's coming from Bill Gates, it's coming from Chan Zuckerberg, it's coming from big money people. It's coming from the Equality Campaign. Sorry for that inconvenience. And so just keep in mind that this was not something that landed on a spaceship suddenly after COVID, because I live in Chesterfield. Chesterfield had SEL because of James Lane long before COVID, before he went to the VDOE. And then I'm going to show you places like Loudoun and Virginia Beach that are very open with their sole source contracts. And so you should need to be asking your Division 2, where is the transparency and procurement for our contracts? Why can't I find our contracts? Because that's part of open government. It's part of Freedom of Information Act. There's a lot of questions that you need to be asking, and they're going to tell you, well, it's buried. That's a different story. But ask the questions. That's what I want you to do today. Is ask the questions. Where are the contracts? What social emotional learning are we using? It's probably like Chesterfield, or somewhere you probably have like 19 like $100,000 contracts that were offered through sole source, which under the Public Procurement Act you have to have county notification of the reason why there was no bidding offered. Just a little background. Alright, so I'm not going to play this whole thing, but I just want you guys because I think it's important that people understand what it is that's at stake. And it's not just the children. Let me know if you guys can hear this. Okay, so that gets me emotional. Sorry, but not sorry, but that's not a world of hate. That's not a world divided. And it's called the world's blessing. Sorry, I gotta get myself together. Because not only are our children, this is what's at stake. This is what they're seeking to destroy. This is what they're driving into our children. Doesn't exist. Through social and emotional learning, period. So sorry. So first we need to talk about like the what. Where is it coming from? And that would be CASEL. Most of you guys know what CASEL is. Of course. Let's just have kinks from day one. Okay, so I'm just going to share the screen and show you guys. Guys, this stuff, they don't hide this anymore. This isn't like Epstein or like something that you have to have a dark browser to find, okay? So if you just looked up Castle, you can, I mean, just through here, so if you just went to their page, okay, first you're going to notice they are constantly advancing. There's guides in here on like how to petition your politicians, what to tell your politicians, but new to systemic SEL, number one, is something to notice. Fundamentals. So SEL, you know, but everything in here, what's really important is, like if you were to search this in the Castle and go to images, you find, I mean, you can find information on states. This is where I found a lot, and you don't even have to go hunting and pecking for what you're looking for. As you can see, every state that has it. And so that's when you get into fascism. Fascism, the centralization of power. Now, traditionally, is that, you know, they call the right the fascists, and, you know, the left, we've got socialism. So currently in our schools, we've got fascism, because there's no question about it, we have federalized education. It's called Common Core. Virginia has it. Standards of learning. We actually started the standards of learning before there was Common Core. And it's the same thing. We've taken the grant money. We have, I've showed you the documents where Bob McDonald says we've been developing the standards too long. We're happy to align with Common Core. We have a statewide longitudinal database system that our Secretary of Education developed, where they developed it to swap illegally our children's data across the nation. So that, when we talk about fascism, and the reason the founding documents were written to exclude fascism and to deter fascism, and so ask your government officials, your elected Republicans, right of centers, are you aware that this is taught in 50 states, coming from the global level? So it's not just education, if there's any left in it, like academics, that's fascist, because it's consolidation and it's unconstitutional. Now you have social and emotional learning at a systemic level. That means it's embedded into every single curriculum. Math is done systemically. History, social studies, that's obvious if you read the standards. From basketball, they have art. Castle has art crosswalks on how to make art systemic. Is that everything has to do with the social emotional competencies, as they call them. Guys, the important thing about competencies is that we are also living under competency-based education, which I've done that before, which is nothing but Governor Wilder, 1988, a regurgitation of outcomes-based education. So what they tell you, and I'm going to bring up one of my, let me find one of my original presentations that I did, because that will help me keep my mind on track as to, not getting too far down the rabbit hole for you guys. Let's do this one. Okay, this one looks like it'll be, I found so many. Okay. So, first, let's present. Now this is the old Virginia Department of Education website, what it looked like. If you didn't know, they've redone it, and which makes every link for the last 10 years that we use. So here you've got, this is the Castle wheel. This is the lens of equity. Keep that in mind. So the 5 competencies are self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision making, relationship skills, and social awareness. Doesn't sound so bad, right? Okay, and then the circles around it, that's when we get into whole child, whole community. It's going to be done in the classroom, every classroom. See here, SEL instruction and classroom climate. Guys, classroom climate, if you don't know by now, is how racist is your school. How inclusive is inclusive for some. Okay, not all. All doesn't mean all. When you see the word all for anything, you need to understand that words have, the whole entire dialect of education has been stolen. Schools, school-wide culture, practices, and policies. Okay, families and caregivers. Well, that wouldn't be great, because wouldn't the family know what was going on? Well, they really mean authentic partnerships. Okay, communities is really aligned learning opportunities. That's where you get your SEL, hip hop assemblies. That's where you get your private sector partnerships. But these authentic is a word too that should trigger everybody into, and I would be on here literally until 9 o'clock tonight if I explained all this to you. I just want to, because people have to start, I'm going to give you the breadcrumbs that I never had. Hey, Patty. Oh, the world blessing didn't play, sorry. If I lost people over that. But, so, is that people will talk about, oh, communities. Okay, well, that sounds good. Families, you should question that, because whose family? Because do you know it's going on? Read number 2. Number 2. Okay, sorry. Okay, so then you have the Virginians definition is using castle. To meet this vision, the VDOE established a uniform definition of social emotional learning based on collaborative. That's another word that you need to understand. It's the same thing as collective. When you see collaborative, it needs to send, I don't care what you're reading, if it comes down from the right side of the aisle, if it comes down from the governor, if it comes down from your favorite elected senator or delegate. If you see anything with these buzzwords, you need to ask them, and I've asked it, do you know what you're talking about? First and foremost. 21st century skills. Do you know what that is? Lifelong learning. Do you know what that is? You're pushing for CTE. Do you know what that is? See if they, because if they don't, they need to take it down until they do, and I guarantee you if they have a soul left and they're not swamp swimming, they will understand. So Virginia defines social emotional learning as, which is the CASEL definition, the process through which all young people and adults, because teachers, lifelong learning, I don't know if your division has it up yet, but now they're bringing in adults. Oh, you want to be a better parent? Sign up for this class. It's like education welfare. Nothing in this world comes free. They're not giving parents more. It's going to become indoctrination for the parents. Okay. Acquire and apply knowledge. Okay. First, knowledge. If I hear that word one more time, it's like rigor. Okay, I can't handle it. I don't know who's commenting, but he said everything you're saying is true, and the process they're using, but we are past Marxism and socialism at this point. We are, especially when it comes to the fact that now both parties are involved. So it's Marxism, and I would love to get into cultural Marxism, racism, Mao, Lukács, all that stuff, but we'll make that episode 2, because this is probably going to be episode 1 out of like 5. So, hold up. I'll get right back to that. But here, okay, so knowledge cannot come before facts. So everybody's saying with knowledge. Knowledge. Did you know that Virginia's for learners? I talked about this in an episode called Do You Speak Education? A learner is not a student. Virginia's for learners not students. A learner is a factory model, okay? You're being trained if you're a learner. You're not a student, you're not a pupil. And they keep pushing for knowledge, okay? Knowledge is like heightened, like you reach wisdom and you have knowledge when you have facts. So how do you start with knowledge? Skills is another word. Skills, competencies, okay? None of this has anything. These are called non-cognitive. These are not brain, these are not smart. This is not arithmetic, this is not literacy, this is not academic, okay? Skills, attitudes, and developing healthy identities. Okay, you should be looking at that, because why does the school have to help your child develop their healthy identity? Developing a child's identity for them, first of all, should be your cue if you have common sense left. Because how many identities did you go through before you figured out who you were as a person? I was 40, and I'd gone through like 15. Except, guys, these identities aren't emo, they're not, goth, whatever. Is that they're developing identities that are not what a child would naturally become. Manage emotions. Again, you don't know how they're doing this. And achieve personal and collective goals, guys, collective. Feel and show empathy for others. Empathy is one of those trigger words that if you know about socialism and the Cultural Revolution, like Maoist China, struggle sessions. Same thing with restorative practices. If you have restorative practices or anybody in your school that's talking about that like they're proud of it, it's nothing but struggle sessions. Establish and maintain supportive relationships. So that's your supportive adult, okay? Do you have a supportive adult at home? If not, okay, let's make a list of your supported adults. That's not going to be you. So we talk about the destruction of the family. This one paragraph in Virginia's definition, which is the same definition the entire globe is pretty much using at this point, it becomes very frightening when you think about an entire generation of children learning the same education and then the same social and emotional learning. Okay? Make responsible and caring decisions. Okay? What do these words mean? I can define them for you, but you need to start asking your division. What does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? Because inclusion doesn't mean inclusion. Diversity doesn't mean diversity. We know what equity means. Equity is literally socialism. To equal it out. To bring them down, to bring them up, make everybody equal, socialism.
There is no system more important than education to fighting against.
I don't know if I need to. Can y'all hear that? No? Okay, I'm going to try to share again. Share screen. Oh, that's what I did last time. Sorry. Good to go now with audio. So this would be Karen Naimi. You can look up
and this racism.
Straight from
and we
CBA
believe that
website.
Our work in social and emotional learning, there is no system more important than education to fighting against racism. And we believe that our work in social and emotional learning must actively contribute to anti-racism. SEL has the potential to do a lot of things. It has the potential to help people move from anger to agency and then to action. Understanding and processing issues of affect, and in today's moment, it's anger. People feel a lot of anger, and rightfully so. And moving that emotion to agency, to speaking truth, to finding and sharing your voice, and ultimately to action, to executing on goals, to having the moral courage to act in the face of challenges, including enormous challenges of racism, irrespective of the color of your.
Okay, so right there. Okay, so this would be when they went to transformative SEL. Oh, shut up. I don't want to hear from you anymore. Okay, so that's what this is, about 2017, 2020, they went Castle went full-blown transformative social. It's actually called SEL, and it's actually SEL now, systemic transformative social emotional. They'll tell you themselves what they're doing. This came straight from the VDOE website, the old one. But 2 clicks, they tell you is that it is a form of SEL aimed at redistributing power. What is that called? You need to know what that literal, like, what that is. I know. To promote social justice. Okay? Social justice, if you don't know, is not justice. It is social, it is the collective. It is the belief that nobody succeeds until we all succeed. Through increased engagement in school and civic life. This should make you question too, because every other word out of Amy Godera's mouth, our Secretary of Education, is talking about civic life. You should start asking, how do we have far left speaking far right, and what's the problem there? It emphasizes the development of identity through a class that's systemically done in every class that you don't know about. They're developing your child's identity. Guys, agency, personal agency, is what we think of if you know what agency means. They're talking about collective agency, okay? Because if you remember what Karen just said, is that she was talking about developing agency, which leads to action. Creating their voice to fight back. Is that she's literally, in her word salad, just admitted that we're creating a collective to create a generation of action, which is social justice warriors. Belonging. It is one of my trigger words, and I finally was able to pin. Okay, so belonging is the opposite. So to understand that, that's Marxism. Is that you don't belong. It's like anti-racism. Is that everybody's traumatized, except, everybody, all means all, only in specific groups, are all traumatized. And the trauma is systemic because of racism. And so belonging would mean that everybody is now brought, and that would be what? You have to bring down the oppressor. This is where you have to start to understand that this is critical race theory. You have to understand, like, in episode 2, we'll get more into that. Curiosity and collaborative problem solving. Who has had my daughter did it in 3rd grade, an entire year of project-based learning. In 3rd grade. And then you get the market economy in, where they had, like, they had to make something and then sell it with, like, fake money. That's where you bring in the market economy capitalism portion of it, which is where you get the uni-party. But then here, I don't know if I can zoom in. Yeah, I can. Maybe. Okay, so guys, again, this is them. They'll tell you what they really mean. So when they say the 5 competencies, self-awareness, they're going to make you aware, your child aware of racial self-awareness, your place, whether it's good or bad, okay, classes, not like they go to classes, but like classes. The difference between the Maoist Cultural Revolution was it was done by bourgeois, by money, the rich and the poor. Well, now it's being done by protected classes, by the color of your skin. So self-awareness is also gendered identities. Self-management is how can you manage yourself in the collective agency. Social awareness, okay, is the belonging piece. So are you socially aware? This is where empathy comes in too. Is everybody belonging? Is everybody a part of your collective? If not, you're a bad friend. You can no longer be selective with who makes you comfortable, who you want to associate with, any of that. I've talked, my daughter was a victim of it, is that if your child is victimized, stalked on the playground, you know, and you go and you tell them, and in this comprehensive sex ed show, I showed you literally what the teachers are instructed to do. Your child is not comfortable with a homosexual role play at 11 years old. You know what? You need to go back and revisit the lesson on what it means to be a good ally. Okay? And then, you know, you need to maybe go and read the class roles and responsibilities and rights of the class, because you being uncomfortable with that exercise, you know, that's where the belonging comes into, is that you're a bad friend. You don't have empathy. Because your child, all doesn't mean all. It only means all for select groups. So if your child's uncomfortable, then they're a bad friend. So that's, guys, that ties into safe schools. They don't mean safe, like, they don't mean safe. They mean safe for specific protected groups. Relationship skills, okay? Relationship skills. Collaboration. So relationships have to all be collaborative, collective. Co-construction, okay? Same thing. Responsible decision making. So their decision making has to, again, be distributive social justice. The redistribution, okay? Collective well-being is what responsible decision making is about. Nothing that they're telling you is true. That little wheel, no. And then here's another one, because I got a bunch of them. So when we talk about self-awareness, they really taught, this is from them too, personal and socio-cultural identities, recognition of beliefs, mindsets, and biases. Self-awareness is your place in the personal and socio-cultural identity. And then recognition of biases, because it's your self-awareness. Okay? Self-management, stress management, guys. This is where we get into the weird stuff of kids doing yoga and meditation in class. My daughter had to do it. And there's Virginia law saying they can't do that. But anyway, so self-management, stress management, self-care, perseverance, and again, agency. Social awareness, perspective taking. Perspective. It's all about perspective. You know, we grew up saying that everybody has a different perspective, and that was okay. And this is going to go to the show that I'm doing Wednesday with Deb, and I think Lisa Logan and Kelly Seek from California. Lisa's from Utah, with this madness that I've dug up, that it's going to blow your mind. But perspective taking is, so everybody was okay with having different perspectives, you know. So I don't have my cube with me, so what can I use? Looking around my clutter book. Crazy. Okay. So perspective used to be like, I used this example before. If you had a box, it's better to use a cube. And you have people looking in a classroom at different angles, and my cubes have like a heart, a peace sign. Everybody's looking and they see something different. And then you would either get up, make people get up, move, like put yourself in somebody's shoes, okay? Move your perspective, and you're going to see the heart instead of the peace sign, okay? But in the end, we're all looking at the same thing, okay? That's how people are supposed to understand each other. But so perspective taking is no longer, you see things differently, we can come together and be different in our understanding, as long as it's respective of each other and not completely mind warping and violating. That's not what they're talking about here. It's our perspective taking, because it's social perspective taking. Empathy is one of the worst ones ever, because it's not anything like, bullying is not bullying. Empathy is teaching children you're uncomfortable with having to do a homosexual class exercise, well, there might be a homosexual child in here that would, really benefit from that. You need to have empathy with them, okay? Or little girls walking into bathrooms, and you need to empathize with that boy and what they're going through, because how you feel, because inclusive is not inclusive, guys. It's inclusive to some. All doesn't mean all. And then again, belonging. And even if I could go through that again and again and again to get you to understand, but it's really one that you have to figure out, like belonging. Like I for like a year, I was like, what does that mean, and how do you teach belonging to a child? Relationship skills, okay, collaborative again, co-construction, effective interpersonal communication. That's like interpersonal communication. Responsible decision making is, I find this funny, ethical responsibility. Question that, because the ethics in education went out the window 30 years ago, longer than that. So again, it's ethical. What ethical responsibility are they teaching your children? Distributive justice and collective well-being. Page 1 of the new history standards was one of the ones that I thought I didn't even have to get past another one, because it was all of this in the history standards. Look up civics and the new history standards that it took them a year to get past. And this one is the one that's whitewashed? No. Kindergarten civics, instead of sharing in 2008, because 2016, you can look up Virginia History Standards of Learning Revision. 2016 is when this drive for skills came in. Okay? This would be post Every Student Succeeds. That's how the timeline comes in, when all this stuff for skills comes in. So then you can question, well, why are we still having the same agenda in education being driven by different political parties? Because nothing's changed since Northam and James Lane. Workforce, nope, same thing. Just now that it's coming out of a red vest, it's okay. But it went from sharing in 2008 to now it literally says sharing for the well-being of others. This is the introduction to globalism. This is the introduction to you will have nothing and love it. This is the introduction of like the well-being of others. Your children are being taught, and this is where like ESG and SDG comes in for the Sustainable Development Goals, is the collective is they're being taught through social emotional learning. I lit the video up about it. It's called the Mahatma Gandhi Institute out of UNESCO. Get that newsletter. They'll literally tell you that SEL is needed as early as possible to prevent dissonance, because dissonance is an emotive response in children. So, and SEL and the SDGs, they're going to be told that they have to give away for the well-being of the world and the earth. And so therefore, the collective well-being is more important than the well-being of your own child. Which is why when they say this is a safe school for all doesn't mean all, because your child's feelings don't matter. The collective matters more. Okay, this is really important too. I'm just kind of going through and picking. Is to understand when we talk. So your division. This is important. So here. So this is how CASEL works. I'm going to zoom in. Where am I zooming? Go. There it is. So this is how CASEL works. So first of all, CASEL. These are so the original people that developed CASEL right here. Big ones here: Bill and Melinda Gates, Chan Zuckerberg. Guys, look up Fester Institute. That goes back to Hitler in Germany. Another big one is the Rakes Foundation. I'm going to cover that a lot on Wednesday with Deb. But Wallace, anything Robert Wood Johnson, and then you wonder why is big business in here? Why is all state? But the Novo Foundation, New Profit, like these are all. But these are anything with foundation in it at this point, like. I don't care what side of the fence you want, you need to understand what a foundation is. And then, so there's the castle wheel. But, so this is how it works, is that everything aligns to castle. Okay? This is coming straight from their website. I'll show it to you in a second. So currently, Mosaic is one of the worst. And then that's Wednesday. I'll get into that. So Chesterfield has Leader in Me, Harmony, and then you've got preschool guys in here, okay? But then this is what's important coming out of Norfolk right now. Get Real, the Planned Parenthood comprehensive sex education that works. Okay? This is Castle. This is coming in through SEL, not Family Life. Okay? So these groups that, since I made that, that are uniting people in Norfolk, is that they're talking about, it's not coming, you can't fight it if you don't know where it's coming from. It's coming in through here. It's not coming in through Family Life. But it goes through, because I've had divisions call me and say, well, they said they're not using Second Step, they're using Character Works, I think. I don't remember which one. But I was like, oh, too bad. Is that when they align, that means they literally align. It's just the same thing, but a different name. They have the same 5 competencies, the same process. So this is how you get fascism, is that they absorb. So somebody that may have had an okay idea coming out of whatever, Harvard or Yale, they realized quickly that if they did not, that they wouldn't have a chance in the world if they didn't align with Castle. And then they all become absorbed into each other. And so it doesn't matter. You can get Second Step removed from your classroom. They're just going to pop in, PBL Works or Open Circle or 8 of them. Responsive Classroom. We have that. This is one of the worst here. This we're going to get into Wednesday. Social Skills Improvement System. But these are only tools of the mind. Please write that down and look that one up. That is one of the most disturbing websites, because what they said, like, the name isn't just a name, it's a thing. Like, Tools of the Mind is probably one of the most disturbing ones I've ever looked through. So just to show you how this works, hold on, I'm going to pull up Castle. I probably got a bug on me somewhere watching me right now. So let's find. Okay, well, I'm just going to show you guys how to do it. So if you pull up Castle, we'll just go to the landing page. And you were to go to, see here, they even say systemic implementation. And they'll give you that. We'll hopefully maybe get into that. Look, how does SEL support equity? Making the case for SEL. It literally goes through like policymakers, principals, everything. Systemic implementation overview. And then it'll tell you how they break it down by classrooms, school. Remember at the outside of the wheel? And all this stuff is, you can access it like this. So, let's see. Okay. I don't feel like looking or showing you where I looked to find it. Do they have a search bar? I don't know if they do. So I'm just going to pull up to show you how to, so Castle aligned program. Oh, it even filled it out for me. Program. About the program guide. So you can go through here and it talks about the program guide. Educators can use, and you can download the PDF guide for more. But I mean, they literally give everything. They're not hiding it anymore. But what's important to notice here is the tiers of evidence. This is where you get evidence-based that never appeared until the Every Student Succeeds Act in, that would be Obama, rewriting of No Child Left Behind, where it appeared 61 times. I don't know where this is going to take me. We'll see. Oh, here it is. So you'll see Tier 1, strong evidence of effectiveness under Every Student Succeeds. And I have that slide I can show you. Tier 2, moderate evidence under every student succeeds. So it means to be strong evidence-based, at least 350 students. Like, I'm not going to break down. But, and then there's also a tier 3 and a tier 4, which that's when you get into, this is actually called quasi evidence-based. That's a whole, you know, it's in previous shows I've done too. So let's see. Here we go. So if we went back, program guide, so we went down, these are all, there's 85 aligned CASEL programs. The ones I show you, you can see here, let's see, compare programs. Oh, never mind. But so there's top ones I showed you. So here it is. So you have SEL supportive program, SEL select, promising, select, promising. This one's really screwed up. Well, promising. So promising is all they have to do to get it aligned. And so look, this is how it works. Character plus, circle of education, whole child, whole school. Guys, there's nothing about your whole child that you want the education system. But this is the full list. Oh, look, there's Get Real, comprehensive sex education that works. Harmony is a bad one. But this is how many. Kindness in the classroom. Leader in Me, Chesterfield has that. But guys, it keeps going. 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 85. 85. So, character effect, big one. So, tools of mine again. Transformative life skills. Okay? Chesterfield County teaches life skills. What's really important is to know is, you know, because I'm going to try and keep this to part 1 of where to find the stuff. Because I can't keep feeding it. You have to want to go after it and understand. When you have questions, everybody who knows, if you have questions, contact me. I'll have a Zoom. We can resume tomorrow after you guys have looked some stuff up, what some questions are. That's what I do. That's what we do. So now that you know where it all is, student characteristics, yeah. So that's one that I'm guessing that you know more about them. Is that go to the website, but none of the guys. And then keep in mind they all align. So no matter what your division in your state has, if they have CASEL, they have one of these 85, and that means we've got fascism, we're entering communism, where all children are not only taught the same education, they're taught the same brainwashing. Social emotional learning being taught is nothing but breaking down the child's original identity, because it's not acceptable, because all doesn't mean all, and they're assigning a new group collective to your child. Period. And then I want to show you a couple examples of what this looks like from my child. Let's see. Oh, I also need to point out too, here, let me pull this up, that you can't teach social skills without assessing them too. Okay, Committee for Children is the for-profit, or the nonprofit, global nonprofit that owns the for-profit second step. So when you see something that has Committee for Children, you need to automatically, in your head, think second step. So they, back in 2014, said you can't just teach them. 2014, guys, this is not because of COVID. You must also assess them. What does that look like? Okay. Well, there's a myriad of, there's DESA, which is what we use. That's Devereaux Center for Resilient Children. That's been around for about 90 years. That's DECA, D-E-C-A. So that would be Head Start. If you send your kids into the free, 18 to 36 month old, I think that's DECA 2. They're doing this stuff based on like toddler and baby's eye contact. They're assessing the children. Panorama is the big one that a lot of people know about because of Merrick Garland. But that's what Panorama does, is they do these assessments on your children, or a lot of children are self-assessing themselves. Ask your children, do you do self-assessment? Or self-reporting, because that's what, so Aperture is what Chesterfield County uses, bringing the whole child into focus. Not disturbing. So Devereaux and another company merged years ago and made Aperture. So it looks like these benign, this would be the Decimeni, what Chesterfield uses, K through 8. I thought all summer parents should have gotten from 65 schools opt-out. Also, second step is done K through 8. Your 9th through 12th do self-reporting through Aperture. And, and I fought for 65 schools and 63,000 children to force the law that they notify you of this. And when I heard about, how many parents actually cared, it was like, you know what, for the 5 that did it, I'm just hoping that as we approach summer, that as we, and this is also, I made them change the manual to include it in the bottom right-hand corner that you can access your child's curriculum, but because we have all technology, you have to make an appointment with the counselor to go in and view it. If you want to see, and then on top of that, if you apply Protection of People Rights Amendment, they have to show you the teachers, like not just the assignments, but the curriculum to go along with it, and the teacher training. But it's these questions that just don't look quite so bad, do they? Like, accepts responsibility for what they do, speaks about positive things. These are completely subjective questions. And then this is from Chesterfield. They self-report. This is from Fluvanna. Okay, this is actually on the Fluvanna website, like Fluvanna Public Schools. This is literally, it's how they'll tell you that this is what they're asking your children. Zoom in if it's going to get fuzzy, because I think this is a screenshot. How often do you spend time at school with students from different races, ethnicities, and cultures? Almost never. Why does that matter? How often do you have classes? At school, how often are students from different races, ethnicities, or cultures hanging out with each other? Guys, they're constantly bringing race and culture to the forefront. And so that's from Fluvanna, another one that, these little divisions are like, well, we don't think we have that. But, yeah, you do. Everybody has it. And I mean everybody. All means all in this case, and I'm not word salading you. Like, all means all. You can have it buried. You can have stupid superintendents. You can have school boards like Chesterfield that have never, they said that they finally requested the second step curriculum that James Lane and Carrie Coyner brought in, like last year or 6 months ago. By the way, Ryan Harder is running for delegate, keep that in mind. But I want to get to this, God, I wish I had more time. Okay. So what does this look like from my child? Okay. She was in 6th grade last year. So immediately, like, welcome to school, like, who am I? Like, things I'm good at. But when we cross into the breaking down of a child, this is what you don't do to an 11-year-old, fresh out of COVID, been locked at home, is a 6th grade girl, okay, who's been bullied to death because she's white. Because if you didn't know, the CDC gave a uniform definition of bullying in 2014. It's in the Virginia code. It's probably, if you're watching from a different state, in your state code too, as the definition of bullying. There must be a power imbalance or a perceived power imbalance. Okay? But, so my child was bullied, like, literally to death. We talk about the suicide rate. We'll care about every child being bullied, not just protected classes, and that you might be able to fix that. I'm generally well liked. Why would you ask an 11-year-old that? I'm generally not well liked. I have a group of friends, but here I have the support of significant adults in my life. Guys, this is all collecting data too. Data, data, data. And then what does it look like at the systemic level? This is English class. Okay. And I will tell you before I show you that Canvas, Schoolology, Power School, whatever you use. Chesterfield is very transparent. When I signed up for Canvas last year, it was only to make sure my daughter was completing her assignments, because they have complete it whenever you want. Nothing's really ever due. There's take a test 3 times. I didn't know exactly why I was signing up for it. Go to your public school website. I guarantee you, under technology or under some parent toolkit, there is somewhere how to get a parent portal. If they have not been, if they didn't, write them and say, how do I get a parent portal? What do we use? Canvas, PowerSchool? Your child, you need to literally open up the Chromebook. They're using Google Slides to chat during school. Okay, so that's stuff you won't have access to in the parent portal. When your kid comes home, take their Chromebook from them, open it up. You're the parent. Okay? So here, she had to read The Giver at 11, which I would not have approved of had I known about it. But after the fact, here, every question, and for 25 questions, before the question on the book, they would ask questions about my child. Do you have any rituals that your family share? What are they? Tell me about an innocent lie or a white lie that you've been told in your past. Are white lies okay? Which jumps down to, this is before every actual book question. Is it okay to break laws if it is for the common good? Name a case, either past or present, when it would be forgivable that someone broke a law. And here's the thing. The basics of that is, I don't want you teaching my child it's ever okay to tell a white lie, first and foremost. I don't want you to ever tell my child it's okay to break a law, even if it's for the common good, which is the collective. Okay? But what you need to understand here, most importantly, and let me see if while I'm talking if I can do 2 things at once. Usually I can, sometimes I can't. Is what you don't know is going on in between the assignment that you found that led up to that, because those questions involve class discussion. Now, those questions in social emotional learning are where you bring in critical theory, race Marxism, queer theory, gender Marxism, is that those questions are set up to set the stage for, because oppressor oppressed. A lot of them are set up to bring in, let me see what I can find. They're all, is that what you don't know, like, so when I challenged that last year, I was told, oh, well, don't worry about it because those were optional, those questions in the test. And had I known then what I know now, I would have said, but I want to know what the actual discussion in the class was. Because you don't know what your kids are talking about, or the way the teachers are directing them. So an innocent question that might look innocent, which I think that we've learned hopefully by now that none of this is innocent, is that you don't know what you don't know. And why would you keep sending your child somewhere that you have no idea what they're being taught? And why are we not fighting back? Is really, I mean, I'm fighting back, but I mean, I'm really at a limited point of it because I don't have access to a portal anymore. If I did, if you want to send me your portal for your child, I would be glad to go through it and find all the madness in whatever division you're doing. But, and I'm trying to find, sorry, these, of course I can't find them. But, so I don't know if y'all remember so the questions, I think I actually have them on paper here, or I did. but from the Pew research that our 8th grade civics class taught, that was, of course I don't have it here in front of me. Usually I do, I have it right here, we go. It was so the discussion about, they were talking about Republicans and Democrats, which way do you lead, which one's better, and then it was our transgender, policies better for society, how do you feel about people who don't speak, English, and then it was, to what extent do you feel white people have privileges over black people? And it was one of those, sometimes, or a little bit, never, always, those, ridiculous. That's not even, that's straight critical race theory. That is, there is no, to what extent do. Okay? So parents were mad that their kids were even being asked that, but the more important question is, the class discussion that led to the assignment, or after the assignment, that you don't know about. Because I can guarantee you, when you have 8th graders talking about things about Republicans and Democrats, on a scale of 1 to 100, which one do you rate as this? Okay? And then when you bring transgender into it in 8th grade, that's going to bring in your queer theory, it's going to bring in your gender ideology, because you have no idea how that discussion is being framed. Because they're not going to ask children questions like that without some frame or basis of conversation. Same thing with the, to what extent do white people have over black people? That is going to come, and these are our civics lessons, keep that in mind, is that is going to come with, there has to have been a discussion somewhere, probably disguised as equity, and that's, your child was just taught critical race theory. I mean, if you have a tenet of critical race theory, you have critical race theory. This is why it's important to understand what you're talking about, because you'll get shut down every time being called a transphobe or being called a racist if you don't understand what you're talking about. And then I think the final, I'm going to do, tomorrow I'm going to do episode 2, and we're going to get more into this because it's a lot, and this is why I really didn't know how to start talking about this discussion, because as I went down the rabbit hole, the rabbit hole never stopped. Let me find, because I have Stafford, Virginia. Teacher sent me all of their stuff. I'm going to show that. I'm going to show you real quick what breaking down of a child and reforming them looks like. This is my child, and it makes me so angry because I didn't understand this. I just saved it at the time. So this is going to be under life skills or social skills. This is a standard of learning. Guys, if you open the Virginia, or your state, even at this point, your state's new health standards of learning, for us, the second page, it's CASEL. It's nothing but mental health. So if you get the parent portal, the first place that you should go is to their health modules. The second thing you need to know is the actual lesson of, so they're going to tell you, okay, you've opted your kid out of the actual lesson of social emotional learning, whether it's second step or whatever. We're going to offer you that. We're not going to tell you it's being done systemically. And then you need to make them tell you what behavior screener they're using. I'll show you where to get the list. Which one of these? Don't know? Where's your procurement? Where's your contract? Because as I can kick the door down for 65 schools in Chesterfield, the dumpster fire nobody talks about, you can do it too. You need to know the law, which we'll get into. This is what the destruction of a child looks like. My child, crippling shy. Okay? Today, this is a 25 slide group, 30 kids exercise. They got into a circle with tennis balls, like playing hot potato. Today, we're going to cover some techniques that can help you make you more socially attractive. Well, isn't that anti-inclusive? The opposite of diversity? And self-confident. Who thinks they're shy? Shy child. Have you been told you're shy? Shy child? I can't think, I wasn't shy, but my daughter was, And it hurt my heart to imagine my child going through this. This is how you break down an identity, break a child down to the point to where they'll believe anything you tell them. Okay, many people are shy and uncomfortable in social situations. This is really important to what we're going to cover on Wednesday, again, with Deb. Because guys, when the show is called All Children Are Mentally Ill for a reason, and I'm just going to leave that there. Are they? No, and I'm not saying that they are, but the show is called that for a specific reason. Oh my God. Many people are shy and uncomfortable in social situations, not because there's anything wrong with them, but because they did not learn the basic ingredient of social life. Okay? So shyness is no longer okay. You can't just be a shy child. And then the rest of the slides went on to talk about actors, how they act their way out of shyness, how they do this to get out of shyness. I mean, then you put a shy child paired up with one or two other children. One may have bullied them, and then you make them rehearse their way out of shyness. And when I talk about my child was I did not know. She was not the child I raised. And you know what changed? The only thing that changed, I got her out. I didn't change anything. Nothing. She's turning 13 next week. She's having her first sleepover with 4 friends, and she's a 13-year-old child now. Last year, wore nothing but black, didn't care if she was showered, didn't care about anything. The only thing I did was take her out of public school. That itself, I didn't change anything. Nothing. No, not the way I punished her. We don't fight anymore. She's a completely different kid. Why? Because she said, Mommy, it's so nice going to school and not having people ask about me and what I'm going through and how I feel about things all day long. That was just randomly in the carpool line. And on that note, do not flee, take the panic, and go to any private school you can get your hands on. If you're going to do it, you have to do it. And when I say get them out, I mean get them out as soon as possible. If you can. And when I say that, I say my husband works, we can't afford this, but we made it work. You get rid of your latte, you get rid of your yoga, you get rid of selflessness. That's what being a parent is. You get rid of your fancy car, because if not, your children are being destroyed. And I'm not going to mince words about that. They are 100% being destroyed in the public school system. And whether you see it now and you listen to people like me or other parents, because I talked to a friend of mine in Louisa, and she was tutoring or helping. She doesn't. I'm not going to say what it is because it might point out who the person is. And she said this little girl, who I think was in 5th grade, said, I got the second best grade in on the SOLs, which is a different whole thing right there. But she said, and the teacher came up to me and whispered it to me, but told me, she said she can't tell anybody because we don't want to make anybody feel bad. We don't want to make anybody, we don't want to make it look like. So children are not even allowed to celebrate their successes in school. We've gone so far past everybody gets a trophy, bravo, that when I tell you that there is no joy, no happiness, they've restricted kindergarten time. It's codified in Virginia law. Max for 5-year-olds is 20 minutes a day, and then they wonder why, and they expect them to stare at a computer screen all day and learn how to read in kindergarten off of a computer screen? Guys, there's too many questions that we are not asking. I am, but we have to do this together. And then I'm going to show you guys. So this is what a data dashboard on your child looks like. Ray Kelly, he said. Yeah, I mean, that she's blossoming, and I wish that I had a comparison, people that follow me, if you go back to, her first day of school this year, going to a new school is hard for anybody. But, and then a couple weeks, like, dressing up. I mean, they have, like, spirit weeks every, like, they dress up in crazy things. Like, you're allowed to, like, you're in the building to celebrate your child's birthday. They have assemblies. They have plays. Think about all the things that have been removed that are just basic. Like, third graders singing Yankee Doodle Dandy. Like, can't do that anymore because that's offensive. And then you think about everything that's been removed that's American. And when you start thinking about, then you won't stop thinking about it. Because we've just accepted this has to be the way it is. So this would be one of the behavior screeners, and what a data dashboard on your child would look like. And because guys, this is Tier 1 Universal Mental Health, the triangle. It's called MTSS, Multi-Tiered System of Support. In Virginia, it's the VTSS. And under that umbrella, you have your restorative services, your restorative practices, you have response to intervention, you have PBIS, you have social emotional learning. That's the umbrella of the MTSS. These are also things that you should be looking up. And the VTSS, which is the Virginia form of the MTSS. That's all the things under the umbrella. And then, of course, you can't, if you assess them, there has to be the data, and the data has to go somewhere. So this is just a generic version of what a data dashboard on a child. And then here's another one. This is an example that I think this is Panorama. So I don't think this poor child, I hope not. But your child will have their name and their picture, and then they will have, like, if they're lucky still in the next year, their GPA. But then look, they're going to have their CASEL pillars. Look, teacher assessment, students assessment. It's going to have the date of the assessment. It's going to have their test result. And that, this is all the stuff that's being collected on your child. And I don't know where if you're not in Virginia, but Virginia, if you look up the Library of Virginia for data, 75 years post-graduation, this stuff. We're talking about a social credit score, literally. A social credit score on our children. A generational social credit score, no less. And so, I'm like, I don't want to give you like assignments, I don't want to be that person, and so, if you do one thing, get a parent portal. Ask where your contracts are. On that note, I'm going to show you real quick what the absolute, I don't know why it's not working. I'm trying to pull up my drive and it's not letting me. Oh, I know why. Maybe? Nope. Why is my drive working? Weird. Let me close out and get back in. So I just happen to have contracts coming out of my yin yang for divisions across the state. And let me see if I can get back in now. Virginia Beach, nope, can't do it. Alright, I'll send it to myself. Alright, I'm going to send it to, because you have to see this. Maybe I can, you know what? I know I can do Virginia Beach right here. I mean, I don't know about Loudon. But, alright, so let's look right here. Alright, let's see. I think Loudon's is pretty easy. Loudoun County. So what I would do is first search your school division, Loudoun. So look up Loudoun County Public Schools or wherever you are, procurement or licensing or contracts or sole source, because that's what I did for Loudoun. So like Loudoun County Public Schools sole source. All right. So procurement is the big word. So Loudoun is very transparent, which they should be, because why are you hiding it? Cooperative contracts are ones that are there just every year, they're being renewed, or they could be partnered with another state, the VDOE, or another county. Sole source. sole source contracts. Okay, these are allowed in sole source contracts. So just to bring it in, to give it, where's my thing? Okay, so here, so you've got Project Lead the Way, okay, EduSpire, Bright Bites, let's see, NetBees, Power School, okay, that's going to be one called your Sub-Central at your system. Savas, guys, this is all data collection too. WestEd, Threat Assessment Implementation. Threat assessment teams. Virginia was one of the first states to have law requiring threat assessment teams that come with threat assessment software, monitoring your children's every move. But what is it really doing? Because it hasn't helped anything. So Loudoun is a good place to go. So they've got Power School again, applicant tracking, Power School Group, My Learning Plan. Teachers, this is important. They're tracking everything you do because your student ID, your teacher ID is like a social security number. No child ever again will have that. You're having your data incessantly. Global learning systems. So this Pearson, oh my God. So this is like Edmonton, Houghton Mifflin, because we don't Zern. That would be not a textbook, okay. Just to be clear, it's a program. Lego brand, okay. I guarantee you, they're not spending $32,000 at Lego Metaverse. But there's 4 pages. 4 pages. Power School. Okay, 4 pages. But then you're over here. This is the money. Okay, 340. Like, I have never actually even totaled this up. 140, 101, 157, 157, 215. But wait, 283, 137, 140, 140, 261. Like, 195. But we don't have money to do what? Okay, the majority of these are going to be your restorative, social emotional learning, embedded, systemic programs. So, and then that was the last thing I wanted to show you. Castle. So you see, Castle will tell you what systemic embedded looks like. So again, just go to Castle. Hold on. Systemic implementation from Castle. A systemic approach ensures that SEL is woven into all students' educational experiences. More than a single lesson or activity, SEL is integrated across key settings where students live and learn, classrooms, schools, homes, and communities. Think about after-school programs. It also aligns school, district, and state policies, resources, and actions to support. Federal policies play a role in creating ripe conditions for supportive environments and rich learning. Okay, learn more about systemic SEL. Oh, look, promoting educational success for all preschool to high school. It's PK-12 now, guys, if y'all didn't know. They just completely got rid of the K. It's now PK-12. Let's open the PDF. Oh, look, systemic approach to promoting educational success. And if you didn't know, if you see, look, it's the APA, really important. Watch on Wednesday. Is this the one that actually breaks down? So they'll go, these are really important to understand. So let's see if I can zoom in. At the school level, you're going to establish an SEL team. At the district level, you're going to develop a district-wide shared plan. This is also being called strategic planning. At the state, you're going to develop a statewide shared vision. Promote SEL for students. If you go through here, principles for systemic, integrated school-wide effort to develop safe, supportive, and engaging learning environments. Really, family members should collaborate in planning? Yeah, they should by law. In Virginia, you're not supposed to bring any textbook or anything without community involvement, review, commenting period. So we've thrown that law out the door. Let me see where the actual lesson was that I thought. I know I have it in my But anyway, so that's the information, and I'll get more into that. My kids are coming home. They've been at the Chesterfield. If you didn't know, Town Center has had a fair for like the last couple weeks. But real quick, the inconvenient truth, because people say whether it's comprehensive sex ed or the fact that this is racism and culture, CRT, is the inconvenient. Does the governor? Yes, he does. If you go to our website, vafcf.org, for a year and a half, we have had a JOT form that goes to the governor, Jason Miara, Winsome Sears. It now goes to the new superintendent, to every Board of Education member, to Elizabeth Schultz, who I actually had this battle with already. They know what it is. You can go to our website and fill it out. It goes to them. So yes, they know what it is. They know what it's doing. The inconvenient truth, and it's because you're young, Amy Dare, got to build a workforce, got to recover the Virginia economy. Is the reason is, and this is where you get the uni party, but is that SEL and the workforce initiative. Okay, so this is why educating future-ready students, a policy roadmap. Okay, this is important. And guys, all this stuff is just off the Castle site. To bridge social and emotional learning in career and workforce development. So now you've got your CTE that you thought was just about, bringing more vocational tech to your, no, it's not. It never has been. That got abducted a long time ago. But you got civic, keep in mind, coalition for career development. So this is the inconvenient truth about why one side's not talking about it, even if they think it's wrong, and the left, who love all of this stuff, is that it's the glue destroying all children that neither party's talking about, because of whatever they're beholden to. If you're beholden to a governor and not the people that elected you, then you're going to get continual bipartisan legislation that's failing our children. And that's why these elections coming up are so important, and why we made the decisions to endorse or not endorse certain people, because of consistent failure in education. Guys, people can be as patriotic, as pro-2A, as a pro-life, as everything conservative, but you don't know, they don't have the conversations about education. Everybody will talk about Sage's bill and transgender and banning. No, there's a reason why none of them will go on the record, even though I've spoken with 15 to 16 of them and know what this is. Whitman, he literally interrupted me at the county fair, and when I started talking about social, he said, "Oh yeah, it's the social engineering of children." Our senator had to drag me away because she could see the smoke coming. You know what it is. You just admitted you know what it is. You're not only not talking about it, you're not doing anything about it. That's when you run into a problem, and that's called the establishment. So, on that note, go to our website, okay, first. I will show it to you. Go to our YouTube channel. Because we've done the work. Okay, here's, you want to donate, there it is. I hate doing that. So here's that video that we talked about. If you look on YouTube, Castle SEL as a lever for, there's a whole series. But here's the JOT form. Yeah, I don't know who that is, but I love you too. And no, it's all on YouTube. It's on our page and our group. You can go back and watch it. But and so you know, we've got stuff like Know Your Rights. Okay? It talks about 10th Amendment. Guys, right to, you've got FERPA. You've got the Protection of People Rights Amendment. There's a data manual here. But the protection of, it's not a myth, the Protection of People Rights Amendment. Okay? And if they tell you that you can't opt your child out, call me first. But here you can, here's how you file. It's a civil rights complaint. Here we have all 50 states. Okay? And we probably, from when we developed this, is that I have forgotten what, like, how much is actually in here. So here's the Virginia form, and then here's all 50 states. And then I've got links to, I mean, we have built this page for everybody to be able to understand. Standards of learning, equity, social justice, the VDOE, the Virginia Department of Health Youth Survey, family life. I mean, it's got it's codified right here as federal code. You know, because, you know, an hour and a half I devote to teach you this stuff, and I give you the resources. You have to follow through for your kids, because at this point, if you don't understand that the government's not going to save our kids, by the time, if we got the right people in that take seat in January, we're going to wait that much longer. The school year is getting ready to be out. We should have a coalition building over the summer how to tackle this across the state for all the children. That's what my hope is. So, if anybody doesn't, I'm sure you know how to I mean, there's 8 ways to find me, contact me. But is that get a portal, see what your kid's learning. Contact your child's counselor and say, I'd like to come see their curriculum. Even if it takes 6 hours out of your day, because if not, but just do those things. Go to the website, click on a few links, learn some stuff, watch a show, listen to something. But I do this all day, every day. I'm just asking for a little bit of your time, and I'm going to go and enjoy mine. And we will pick up tomorrow, maybe. I think we're going to Spotsylvania for some book stuff tomorrow. But Wednesday, the reason we learn, Deb Philman on YouTube, we will be tackling a huge issue. So on that note,